Before I came here, I pretty much just followed the same routine that I've been doing since high school. 2 weeks of 3 sets of 10, 2 weeks 3 sets of 8, 4 by 6, whatever by 3, pyramid for a couple weeks, take a week off, start over. And I made a lot of gains with that, but it's because I was teenager, early 20s, and still making a lot of gains just because I made gains whatever I did. But I really kind of got to the point where I'd be really stagnant. Like my deadlift was at 303 for 2 years before I came here.
And what have you lifted since then?
Since then, my total in July before I came out here, my best one was a 760. And a year later, I totaled an 826. So, it's an 86-pound jump raw in a year, which is pretty good when it's, that's 10% of my total, more than that. But I think that the conjugate method really works as far as, it keeps you lifting heavy all the time, rather than lifting heavy, taking 5 or 6 weeks off lifting heavy and going back to it, because you really do lose a lot as far as your top end when you spend that much time doing long sets. So this way I get the best of both worlds just at the same time.
So this question's on Cherry-Pelvic tilt. The most important part of this, I think, is to stretch your hip flexor. You can also do this on the couch at home. Basically, the more you lean back, the more you're going to feel the strain in your hip flexor, because typically what anterior pelvic tilt's caused by is really tight hip flexors that kind of pull your hips forward. It's also caused by weak glutes, so any glute exercises you can do will help relax will help tighten the glutes to get your pelvis back into alignment, but primarily it's caused by tight hip flexors, and that happens most often with people who have a job where they sit all day, or if you're in a car a lot.
And then there was a lot of, and I understand that, like, okay, the patterns, that personality, so. There's preaching verses to me like I was done. Do I have like fire coming out of me or something?
Well, the real problem with that is that the Bible specifically states that we're not to judge the heart because.
For questions, powerlifting gear for beginners like briefs or a suit, probably a regular Titan Centurion is the way to go for a squat suit. I would definitely go a little bit big on the size rather than too tight, because it can be frustrating if you can't get depth in your gear or you can't work gear. Then you can get it tightened up as you gain experience and strength. I think a lot of beginners go too tight with the gear initially, and it just leads to a really frustrating experience. So definitely go a little bit big with the gear and then tighten it up as you get more experience. We don't have an off season. Most of us train year round. We can try to compete about every 12 weeks. I guess the closest thing to an off season would be post meet, and usually we'll take like a couple week period and focus more on a little bit higher rep stuff and bringing up some lagging muscle groups. But other than that, we don't have an off season. For most of the accessories, a lot of times we'll do one heavy barbell movement after the max effort movement, and that'll be more in the 3 to 5 rep range. Other than that, we tend to keep everything in the more 8 to 12 rep range for accessory work.
How many sets?
We do typically 3 to 5 sets.
They start getting
Like my right hand always gets out.
Slow down. Explode up.
Like nerve damage.
Everybody's
sure of that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need that.
We do a lot of rowing. We do at least one lat exercise per bench workout. I would say in terms of total number of reps, The bench reps and rowing reps are pretty similar because our bench sets tend to be, we do more sets but less reps. And then we row, we do fewer sets but more reps per set. So the total number of reps is about the same.
How about weight?
We typically stick with like what's challenging for that set of 8 to 12 reps. Generally follow the rule of thumb of try to leave like 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. Because with your accessory work, you don't want to kill yourself, but you want to make sure you're working hard.